Welcome to the Mentally Whole podcast. I am your host, Lauren Green. This podcast is a safe place for us to have weekly discussions about mental health, Christ, personal development, and the tools to live our best lives. Please stay tuned for a new episode. Hey y'all, this is Lauren Green with another episode of the Mentally Whole podcast. I am recording this episode while there is a thunderstorm outside, so I pray the internet connection does not fail me. So I hope you guys are safe wherever you are, because like I said, outside of my window there is a thunderstorm. So don't forget our housekeeping announcements. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, share this with someone who you think would benefit from the podcast, and don't forget to rate the podcast at the bottom if you're an Apple user. So I really didn't know what to talk about this week, but just wanted to share my thoughts on the current pandemic before we get into the topic. Since we are in this pandemic and everything is shut down, it really feels like every day is the same day, even on the weekends. Maybe I'm the only person that feels this way, but it's been like just everything is just flowing together almost. So since I didn't know what to talk about, I decided to talk about a current project that I'm working on and how it relates to a topic in psychology. So the topic that I'm going to talk about is the stages of change, right? So I'm going to go over the stages of change before I go into my story and how it relates to each other. So the stages of change, it is 1, 2, 3. It is 6 stages that you can go through in the stages of change. So the first stage is pre-contemplation. So that means people do not intend to take action in the foreseeable future. Defined as within the foreseeable future is defined as within the next 6 months. People are often unaware that their behavior is problematic or produces negative consequences. People in this stage often underestimate the pros of changing behavior and place too much emphasis on the cons of changing behavior. The next stage is the contemplation stage. So this stage is that people are intending to start the healthy behavior in the foreseeable future. They are taking into consideration, they're realizing that their behavior is problematic, and they're going to take a more thoughtful and practical consideration of the pros and cons of changing the behavior. What else? But even though you're in the contemplation stage, you might still be kind of like on the fence of changing. The next stage is preparation. In this stage, people are ready to take action within the next 30 days. So you're ready to get this ball rolling. You start to take small steps towards the behavior, and they believe that changing their behavior can lead to a healthier life. The action stage. People in this stage have recently changed their behavior, and they intend to keep moving forward with that behavior change. People may exhibit this by modifying their problem behavior or acquiring new healthy behaviors, right? So that could be, if you want to lose weight, that could be cutting out soda, eating more fruit, eating more vegetables. The next one is maintenance. People have sustained their behavior change for a while. So a while means more than 6 months, and intend to maintain the behavior change going forward. People in this stage work to prevent relapse to earlier stages. Termination means people have no desire to return to their unhealthy behaviors and are sure they will not relapse. So they use the stages of change a lot in addictions work. So that's why they have the word relapse in this. Since this is rarely reached and people tend to stay in the maintenance stage, this stage is often not considered in health promotion programs. So when I learned about the stages of change, they only went up to maintenance, right? So yeah, termination is a whole new term that I just learned about, but it is very true. Not a lot of people make it to the termination stage, so most people don't really discuss that stage a lot. People kind of just stay in the maintenance stage. So the story that kind of relates to this is my purging of my room. So if you've listened to the podcast for a while, back in November, December, I had this really strong push to really purge my room and purge my clothes, right? I was probably in the action stage because I did take steps to purge my room, right? But when I started taking actions to purge my room, but then eventually I just stopped, right? I think I became overwhelmed by all the things I have, and I just stopped doing it, right? Stopped doing it altogether. So that showed me that I probably jumped back into the contemplation stage. I was still on the fence about it. I just stopped altogether and was like, nah, bruh, I'm not doing this right now, right? This also showed me that there was a pattern in my life, right? So sometimes when I get overwhelmed, I will avoid things, or I'll just stop a project altogether. And that pattern shows up in different areas of my life as well. And since the pandemic started, I figured out some new strategies on how to tackle my clothes and how to purge them. I first started with my chest and my dresser. Then I'm going to move to my closet where there's a lot of stuff in there. And also I looked up different ways to declutter my room. I did more research on that. I really just took the time and was like, hey, if I get worried or overwhelmed, I'm going to take a break, right? So that's what I did this go around. Another lesson that I learned from this project is that sometimes you need to take a break from something to re-strategize. Sometimes you need a new perspective, right? So before I was probably thinking like, oh my God, this is so much stuff, right? And I just quit. But this time I'm like, you know what? I can do this. I can figure this out. If I need a break, I'll take a break for a few minutes and come back, right? So right now, during this room project, I am in the action stage, right? I am taking action. I am purging my room. And honestly, it just feels more peaceful in my room. You know what I'm saying? I'm getting rid of stuff that I no longer need. This time I feel like I'm ready to do it and I'm motivated, and I'm not just talking about physically removing stuff, but also not just physically removing stuff, but also as relationships that no longer serve a purpose. I was watching T.I. and Tiny, The Family Hustle, and Monica was at the end of her divorce, and she did this naked photo shoot, and the quote that she used was, "The new you requires shedding," right? And so while I was cleaning out my room, I kept replaying that quote in my mind, because if I want to go to new places and start a new chapter in my life, I have to shed things, right? I have to shed it. And I'm so excited about doing this purge. I will give you guys another update next week once I do my closet. But yeah, I'm really excited about it. I feel like I can fully express my creativity in my room. I just feel like I'm just really excited about this. So one of the things that I want you to do, guys, is really look at these stages of change and really pick a situation in your life and figure out what stage of change that you are in right now, right? So this episode, we talked about the stages of change and how I related it to my own life. So I hope you guys have a great week, and I will have a new episode next week.